When there's snow in New Orleans, when there's snow in Florida, and places that's not used to getting snow, and they get more snow in these places than we're getting in the Northeast, I said thank you. I said thank you. Welcome to another edition of Black Men Talk. Mark Elliott, Mr. Reese, Mr. Charles, and we get together weekly to kind of basically have conversation. And sometimes we go into different places, but one thing I can guarantee you with our conversations, we're not going to shy away from some things that need to be said. Gentlemen, I want to kind of start it with this because we're all into the football now with the Super Bowl not too far away, was watching the playoffs. And a couple of weeks ago, this receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, A.J. Brown, he was on the sidelines. And he was basically, they felt like he kind of took himself mentally out of the game, but he pulled the book out and he started reading this book. And of course, his camera zooms in on him and they show it. And the idea was that he was disgruntled because he wasn't getting the ball thrown to him, that he kind of checked out mentally. But no, he said at the end of the game in the press conference is that that's what he does to calm himself down, to stay focused. He reads. Ironically, I forgot the name of the book, but the next few days, that book on Amazon sold like crazy. So Mr. Charles, he shows up to the following game driving a Honda, an old Honda Accord, if I'm not mistaken. And people just kind of went crazy. Why is he driving that beat up car? Blah, 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 blah. And to me, I don't think folks understand. Yeah, he's making a lot of money. Why spend all the money? At the same time, if this man is reading a book, yes, it's during a game, but if he's reading a book to basically calm himself and keep himself calm, what's the problem? What's the problem with the book? What's the problem with basically driving a car? Because to me, this sounds like one grounded young gentleman. Your response, please. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. I think part of it is people have expectations of when they think what you're supposed to be able to do when you're making money. So they think that you're supposed to act a certain way and live a certain way. But again, material things don't make you rich, or they don't make they. I mean, they should not to show off what you who you are by material things. But the book itself, like you said, what's wrong with reading a book on the sideline? The main thing about reading a book is this: if his stats is up to par and he delivered and he performed, I don't care what he's doing. If he's if he was reading a Playboy magazine, then what? What would they have said then? Well, he crazy, he freaky, whatever. But the man was reading a book, and if he can stay focused that way and still produce on the field, who cares? And then about the Honda, how many cars Honda sell in this country and worldwide? It's ridiculous. Last point on this, it is amazing how people that do not have on the outside want to talk about somebody that's on a different level. You want to tell somebody how they're supposed to spend their money. Get your own, then you can buy what you want to. Get off of it. And don't be. That sounds like hateration. You mad? If I had $10 million, I'd get that cold ass Maserati. What? Shut up, man. Are you serious? Get a life. Get your own money, then you can buy what you want to. But don't be mad at somebody because they're not being extravagant to your taste. And you still mad at your wife or your husband for not being able to provide you with the stuff that man has. Man, y'all come on, be better than that.
I think, Mr. DeMaurice, that a lot of people assume, and what they're used to is these players being extravagant, just living a certain lifestyle, drinking champagne every day, riding around doing the stuff. And what they're starting to realize is that a lot of these younger athletes are grounded and it's catching them by surprise. We spoke last week about the quarterbacks, how humble they are, the two quarterbacks that we featured last week. But now you look at this gentleman here reading a book. Of all things, reading a book to calm himself down during a game. He doesn't seem like he's anxious. Now, I remember when Antonio Brown was on the sideline pulling his shirt off and doing. That's what they want to see. That's what they want to be attracted to. But this man reading a book, they can't handle that. Something's wrong with it. And at the same time, he pulls up in an automobile that just, of course, if compared to what he's making, what he's driving, but it says to me he's smart. He's frugal. He understands, this game is not going to last a long period of time. I'm not going to live like it's going to last forever. Your thoughts to it, man? Good afternoon.
Good morning here, but good afternoon to you fellas. I'm still in the morning. I ain't letting it go. But anyway, I think the younger generation, hopefully they're learning from the past generations and the mistakes. I remember a show called Broke, and I'll get to that a little bit later, where all these athletes, you think they're making all this money, but they're not taking in consideration taxes you got to pay. That's damn near half that salary. So if you're making 60 million, that get announced, people think that you're getting 60 million. You're not getting 60 million. You got to pay taxes on that money. The government's going to get their share. Everywhere you play, they're taking taxes out. They're taking because you're working in that city that day. They're taking taxes out of that paycheck for that day's work. So, and then you got to pay your agent. You got to pay all these folks. You're trying to, help family out, and you're buying your mama a house and your daddy this, and that money goes really quick. And I think we like to live vicariously through our celebrities and our athletes. Like, man, if I had that, I'd be doing that. That's why we wear the jerseys. That's why we support the team. We put their names on our backs because we're living vicariously through them, watching the games, like, leaning and making all these gyrations while they're playing, like we're playing with them, or music entertainers, all that other stuff. But I was once telling a young man, so a couple of young men, because one of my guys was trying to produce them. They were a rap group, and he was like, "Man, they want to sign for $15,000 with this record label, and it's going to be 5,000 a piece." And I'm telling them they can't sign it. They were in high school, and he said, "I need somebody else to come in there and really give them a reality check." So I broke it down for them. I said, "In your lifetime, you're going to be working about 45 years in your lifetime. Will this $15,000 stretch out these 40? If you don't get anything else from this record deal, you don't sell any records, will that $15,000 or $5,000 each last you 45 years?" They said no. I said, "Here's what you need to consider." And so I broke it down for them, and they're like, "Whoa, this record label cheating us." I said, "Exactly." It's a loan. It's a loan because they're expecting to get paid back. So a lot of the younger, hopefully a lot of the younger generation don't get caught up, and some of them do, because you listen to the young lady who plays for the Chicago Sky here, who talked about, "I can't afford my rent." Like, why are you living above your means? You get some of those in this generation, but trying to follow and trying to be the most and do the most. But you get some of the folks in this generation who are like, "Okay, I get it." And they get a lot of counseling even before they get in the league. You got guys like Herm Edwards who'll sit down with these guys in seminars and say, "Listen, you only need one car. You don't need four, five, six cars. You only need one house. Here's the deal. Here's the reality of what you're going to be getting into. You only need one girlfriend. Don't go out there doing the most, because you got child. Some of these guys paying child support, or multiple women. That takes a lot of money." So I think when these guys get with who are solid to the ground, and just grounded, they are backed by a support system, maybe their parents, maybe their uncles, somebody who's saying, "Listen, let's plan this out, so in the next 45 years you still have stuff to live on, instead of just blowing your wad in your 20s, and then you can't really kind of live after your playing days are over, because the average playing time is not is it's like 10, 20 years like LeBron. Everybody can't play 21 years. Usually it's 2, 3, 5 years. So what are you going to do with that money? How are you going to invest it? How do you make the money work for you, as opposed to you working for the money? And then how do you keep grounded? And okay, I play this sport, and I get a Kingsley salary for this sport, but this is not who I am. I am truly this person, and I'm going to stay grounded in this person. Even though I do something that people like and I get a lot of money for, I can't act like, you know, I'm better than everybody, and that I'm different than everybody. I just do things that are different, and I have a special talent that gets paid for. How can I keep this, and then keep my head as I'm going through this, and when this is over, still be the same person, grounded person I've always been?
Listening to you, man, about the child support and stretching the money over a period of time. brought up a baseball player years ago, man. Bobby
Mm.
Bonilla with the New York Mets. This cat signed the contract with him. I forgot what the total amount of the contract was, but it was for Steady got the money up front a lot of throughout his playing time, except to where that now he's not playing. He hasn't been playing baseball for a while. But if I'm correct, he gets like 1.5 million paid to him each year. Think about that for a
Yeah,
second. He
July
stopped
1st.
playing, yeah, man. He stopped playing baseball, let's say roughly like 15, 20 years ago. But this cat is still every year can count on 1.5 million check coming to him. And I think about that, and I heard recently, or I read recently, where Cam Newton is basically complaining and crying that he can't feed his 7 kids right now. He's not making the money to feed his 7 kids, basically. And I don't know what Cam was thinking. And I guess he assumed the money that he made, because he said, I guess at one time he had a contract over 100 some odd million. And I get the point they take taxes out and they get all that, but bro, if you made 100 million in a short period of time, you should have a bulk of that still put away somewhere working for you, making more money for you. I always like the guy that played for Seattle Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch. That cat didn't touch his money while he was playing football. Never touched. He never took his money out of his paycheck. Didn't touch. Just kept playing the game. Didn't touch it. Imagine that. Imagine how much money this cat has stored away. Gentlemen, here's something I like to do from time to time, man. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I like reminiscing from time to time because to me it carries a lot of benefits. Basically, it kind of gives you a chance to go back and look at some things. Of course, it gives me a chance to go back and laugh at some things. But at the same time, as I progress through life, it kind of basically showed me some things I could have done differently, some things I might need to open my mind up to, Mr. Charles. So if I throw the word at you, reminiscing, is something you like to do? And if you have, what are some of the benefits or maybe the pitfalls you see behind it?
No, I think reminiscing is a good thing. I don't know if reminiscing all the time is a good thing because you sometimes maybe think about, damn, I should have done this better. And it weighs on you and it can cause you to have some issues if you can't realize that. Reminiscing, particularly the things that you can't control or you messed up on, should be lessons, right? And you look at it as a lesson. You be like, man, I want to make sure I don't make that mistake again. If I do that, I had an opportunity to do it again. I'm going to do something different. But reminiscing can be really good, even to the point of if you look at relationships, you could have been a time where you were connected with somebody, and for a stretch of time, you really had fun. You enjoyed yourself. You loved that person, or whatever. But we also must realize too that reminiscing shows also that some things are only meant for seasons, bruh. Nothing lasts forever. And you like, man, damn, that was a good 3 years, a good whatever you may have been in. But you reminisce, and then also you're able to really appreciate what was going on as far as that time. So I think reminiscing can be a good thing, but it also should be a good lesson for you to move forward in the future.
Sometimes I would reminisce, Mr. DeBreeze is my cousin, man. And I reminisce, and this kind of taught me this is that you got to be careful who you invite into your home. And sometimes when somebody come into your home, you may want to hide certain things with them, see everything that you have. Because when I was a young, when I was a young little boy, Mr. DeBreeze would come to my house, man, and basically wasn't my house, my parents' house at that point. And he basically would steal my Matchbox and Hot Wheel cars. So I learned from that situation, Mr. DeBreeze, that realistically, sometimes when people come over, you got to hide the good china. Reminiscing, my brother. Then you go down that lane from time to time.
Before you start, I want to know: did you ever feel bad about stealing his cars?
He didn't feel bad.
Not one bit. No, I mean, yeah, you feel bad, because you feel shameful, when I got caught in that hallway, it's like, damn, but Now nobody gonna trust me around the mascot spot. Uh,
Oh
but yeah,
man.
I think it's sometimes it's good. Sometimes I reminisce on stuff that like I made decisions back in the past, and I'm like, man, I wonder if I made the right decision. And then all of a sudden, you get validation, like, oh yeah, I dodged that bullet. I made the right decision. So also, it my grandmother used to say this all the time, and she used to say, you keep getting a lesson until you pass the test. You'll keep getting the same lesson. You'll keep getting the same. It'll keep coming to you until you handle it the right way, and then you go on to the next stage. And so I kind of look at reminiscing that way. Like it helps me realize that, okay, this was the test before, you saw this before, and now you can move on because you learned so many things from it. So I think in reminiscing, sometimes you can learn stuff from, but sometimes you don't want to reminisce on the wrong things because it'll get you right back in the situation you were in before. And then you go, dang, I reminisced too much. And now I'm in a worse situation than I was when I passed the test before, and now I'm retaking this test, and or it's a test that's there to see whether or not you're still on point and whether or not you're going to go back or renege again. And I think the creator does that on purpose to see whether or not you're really ready for this next thing I'm trying to give you, or are you just talking, or are you just kind of faking the funk. So I think reminiscing is good in retrospect to kind of keep you solid in finding out whether or not you've made those steps in growth. And but yeah, sometimes you'll make decisions and you don't see the results of that decision until months or years later. And that's when I reminisce, like, man, I did this, I said this, should I have done this, should I have said this, should I have reacted in this particular way. And then you get the validation not too long after that says, yeah, you made the right decision. This was, or you see that person maybe you were in a relationship with, and like, man, could I have done such and such and such? And then you get the validation, like, nope, you made the right decision. Keep moving on. Keep going forward. You're moving in the right direction.
It could be very valuable too if it's used properly. For the most part, there's a lot of benefits to it. I think there's a lot of way to grow and kind of get confirmation, as you spoke of. I want to bring us back, thinking of reminiscing. I want to go back to a day of election a few years ago. If I'm thinking, maybe over 12 years ago, it was the euphoria that most of us felt the day that Obama was running for president. But it was the day we had to go cast our ballots for him to become president. And I want us to dial back in our mindset to that day because I think that day itself was one thing for the country, but I think for a lot of us individually, we felt a lot of different things kind of rolling inside of us. And there's times that I kind of kick back and I reminisce back to that day because for me it was a day of of course we probably thought we'd never see that day, but I thought back to my parents at that time. They were both passed on, how they would probably speak of it, but would never be sure that they would actually be able to cast a vote for a black president. And I thought how they basically would feel if they were still alive, was able to maybe cast their vote. And I remember, having that thought. And of course, you can't think certain things about that without thinking about the past, what we've been through in this country and how far we've come, how far we've progressed. And I remember playing a song going driving up, and I this place my voting booth I go to. Most of the times you go to vote, there'll be a few people in the line. At this place, it was a firehouse back then. A few people in the line. You go to vote. You see some stragglers outside. You kind of get in, kind of get out, and get out quickly for the most part. I'm driving up that day, and the line was around the block. It was just a long line, and the song I had playing, I think it's about J.J. Harrison, about the blood. And hearing that song and looking the line, tears just started coming down. Just started coming down. And I always think back to that feeling, that thought, that process, that euphoria. And for us as people, I think that day was monumental if we bought into it. So I'll come to you first, Mr. DeMaurice. I want to go back, reminisce to that period of that day. If you can remember, and I think it should be easy to kind of dial up the mindset, some of the things that you experienced and thought of that day.
Yeah, I was a poll worker during that day in a Republican town here in Chicago, not in Chicago, but outside of Chicago. So I remember getting up like maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get there at about 4. And the song that was playing was Yamo Be There by Ingram, James Ingram. And that song was it just put tingles in my spine because at my mindset at that particular time was I'm going in the Republican area. I know they're not going to like me being there, and I was ready to scrap, bro. And I wanted to work the polls because I wanted to make sure there was no shenanigans that was going to go on in this election. And that was the last time I worked the polls. But I wanted to make sure this time, the first time, that there were no shenanigans, nobody doing stuff. And there was a white dude who was wearing a hat or a T-shirt, and I was Johnny on the spot. Like you gotta either take that T-shirt off, cover it, because you can't wear any political, you know things in this. And he it kind of frogged up. I'm like, you know what? We can do this the easy way. We can do this the hard way. So, if you're feeling froggy, we can go outside and handle this, but you're not going to do that here. And so the other poll workers that I was working with was like, okay, all right, you the guy, you the guy we need to, hang on to, and you're gonna make sure that we're all safe and all this other stuff. But I felt it was my obligation at that particular time, and I just felt good about it that this guy was going to be the next president of the United States, and I had to do my part, and I had to do something that was going to be part of history. And I remember thinking of grandma when he got elected that when Jesse Jackson was trying to run, and she kind of felt like disappointed because it was like, this country is not going to vote in a black man ever in this country. And I would go back and forth with her. I'm like, things change, grandma. And she was like, I mean, she was like in her, in her late 60s or 70s at that particular time, and she had seen a lot in this country, and she just couldn't fathom that. And I thought of her, but I remember asking my father about it, and some older people in my family about it, and they were like, they just didn't think it would happen. They were glad that they were able to live to see it happen. At least they could see it happen once, and how gratifying that was. And that's something that they will always remember, and how uplifting it was to have him in office. And looking at how things are handled now with the presidency, he set the standard so high to me that these other folks can't even come close. They just can't come close, and it just is a testament that when we step into the arena and do a job, that we outshine, we're on point, and we do what we need to do to make sure that we make a good account of ourselves. And so it just made me proud. I still look at him in reverence, even though he's one of the guys, so to speak. I still look at him in reverence because for what he was able to do and the restraints he was under, and he was still able to do a great job, speaks volumes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. I remember after I was there's some facts that came out. And again, I think that day to a lot of us meant a lot of different things. But I remember the state of Georgia. They had like over 600,000 people that could have registered voted for him the first time that wasn't even registered. And I remember thinking to myself, if you don't register to vote for him, what's it going to take God to come down here for you to get registered to vote? But ironically, 8 years later, a good portion of it, not all of those, man, Stacey Abrams got them to register and vote. So I tip my hat to her because that lady did some awesome things in the election, what, 4 years ago? She really kind of brought the election, the Democrats, back into the White House. And ironically, this time around, they chose not to allow her to be part of it. didn't really put her in a place to really help out. And look what happened. My opinion. Mr. Charles, going back to the day of election and electing one Obama into the White House, reminiscing back to it, sir, your mindset, your thought of that particular day.
It was a lot. I think it was some mixed emotions for me. One, because I heard about it, and I heard about what the prediction was going to be, and for the longest time, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think he was going to be elected, just because the way that this country has the history and what it's shown us, and we heard about it, but until literally where you could see that they predicted that he actually won, I wouldn't say I was dumbfounded, but I was shocked because for the longest time, I always thought a woman would be elected president before definitely a black man. Because for all we say, well, they don't want certain people don't want women. Mindset of women they don't want a woman to be president. I just thought that it was even deeper of how much people were fearful of black men, and from the standpoint. But then I started to understand later on that the reason why there was not such a pressure to not have Obama as the president is because out of what was going on, they felt they could control him, and they did everything they could to do that. But regardless of the fact, it was an amazing time. It was an amazing event that he was able to be elected. The other thing too, I felt somewhat, uh, I guess I would say, I felt a little hopeful about this country. And what I mean by that is nothing's ever going to be perfect, considering where we're at right now. It feels like we went backwards, right, for some people. But the fact is that knowing that it took not just people of color to elect Barack Obama said something to me. It means other people had to buy in too because that's what they wanted because they were tired of what else was happening. And they had to trust them to move forward. And that says a lot. That says a lot. Even if you compare the connections between, you compare the presidency of Joe Biden and Barack Obama, it's just different. But the fact that the people said, you know what, we're tired of the regular BS. We want him to be our president. And he was smooth. He's a smooth dude. I mean, I don't think a lot of us knew how smooth he was or how cool Barack was. I mean, hell, was there a cooler president? Barack Obama was doing March Madness. He liked jazz. I mean, shit, that was your homies, right? You know, they said he was a former cigarette smoker, which means he probably smoked weed too. And when they found, brother, I'm just keeping it 100, bro. You know how we do. We say everybody want to make
Yeah.
him a saint. Keep it 100 over here, bro. Let's keep it 100. And then
Hello.
when he they found Bin Laden, they had that captured. It was the and probably was the biggest moment for me in this whole presidency. I'm just being I'm making a little joke here, so y'all deal with me. But the coolest part of his damn presidency when he made that announcement about Bin Laden being caught, and he turned and he walked back down to the office, to the Oval Office. When he spun around, you can't tell me that man. In the black culture, for those that don't know this, when you have a certain kind of walk and you're confident and you look real smooth, it's called pimping. So when you walk down the hallway and you say, "Damn, he look cool as shit in there," and all you can see was his back, but you can see when he walked, he had a certain kind of style to him, like a strut, and he was moving his arm. So when you pimp, you move your arm, go with your body as you move forward. And he walked down there like, yeah, y'all see that shit? Y'all see that shit? I was like, man, woo! I said, you got me now, boy. So yeah, I was happy for him, and he was cool as hell. So kudos to him, and may he continue to enjoy his life outside of politics.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. This is just me personally, and I've said this to people over time, and I hear we use this phrase a lot, they. And my thing is, who the fuck is they? And I think we have to start. To me, that's something that I pulled out of him winning. Is we always kind of believe they is the mob control shit. And I'm not saying there's not a part of the population that can fall under they, but I think when we always think that, we give them power that they really don't have. or we add on to the power that we assume they have. So my mentality, and I'm just speaking for myself, is fuck they, who they is. Because if they can't give me a name, they can't speak for themselves, I'm not making them up being fictitious. I'm not going to do that. And I know a lot of times in conversation, we think that way, we speak that way as people. And I'm like, fuck that they shit. I'm sorry. They put it themselves. You know, a lot of times people, well, they said it. Who said it? Don't tell me what they said. If you can't give me a name, be specific, I don't want to have a conversation. You know, that's just how I handle that. But I want to come back to you with something, Mr. Charles, because we was in the inauguration that took place a little while ago. And not saying there's mixed feelings around this, but something that's wanted to kind of, for us to kind of, look at it our way and see what we're thinking. Recently, due to the inauguration that took place, the ex First Lady Michelle was absent by choice. And I think we can clearly understand the reason why, she made the choice to be absent. But what I'm going to just ask and have us kind of maybe take a look at and discuss, because I don't think I maybe heard this in a small little circle somewhere, but I did think about this. I understand and I respect her choice of not showing up. If I'm correct, I don't think she showed up for Jimmy Carter's funeral either. But if you think about her husband, we just talked about the first black president, Mr. Obama. We all said some, admiring things about him. We respect the job that he did for this country, how he set the standard. He did some amazing things. Was that being disrespectful to him to not appear? And was it being disrespectful to the title of the First Lady itself, Mr. Jones?
Excuse me. I'm going to say very quickly and very determined no. And I say that because it was his position to fill, right? For as much as we want to make the first lady very important and she supports her husband, I think that's very valid, her supporting her husband. But I think at the same time, it was his position. He is the president. And I think sometimes we get caught up in, well, the first lady should no, she shouldn't. He's the president. He's the former president. He should have been there. What she decided to do, I don't think it's disrespectful to him because you don't have to go to everything, particularly if you don't. He acknowledged the office. He acknowledged the new transformation over from one political party or one group regime to the other, and that's enough. Why does it matter that she wasn't there? I mean, according to ceremonial and whatever. Nah, bro, she didn't want to be there. She don't be there. And let's say this: I applaud her. She didn't want to be there, particularly she didn't believe in the BS that's coming along. She didn't believe it. Don't be there. She didn't have to be there. It'd be different if she was the president. She's not the president, wasn't the president.
We're zeroing on Mr. DeMaurice on the focus of, was it disrespectful to Obama for her not to be there? That's the
No,
focus.
no, not at all. That's his job. If that's what he chose to do, the thing that really bothered me about this, I didn't watch none of the circus that happened. I don't know who was there. I only know what people tell me. But did the last president go to the inauguration of the first lady when Joe Biden got inaugurated into the White House?
Rob, no, he didn't go.
No. Okay. All right. So nobody says shit about that. Nobody mentions that.
Mm,
That's not a big issue. That's not a big issue. Yeah, people kind of made us think, oh, he's not, but that he was an asshole. And but when you get that same energy, all of a sudden it's your butt hurt about it. And just like you said earlier, fuck they. Who's butthurt about it? All these white folks. Oh, she didn't. And no, none of y'all did. Matter of fact, y'all stormed the damn just the Capitol because you didn't agree with all this stuff. So I admire her for saying, you know what, I don't want to be bothered with that. I'm not doing that, and I'm not co-signing that. Now, if Barack decides to do that, that's his job. And he wants to do the transfer. With past presidents coming into the inauguration, fine. But I'm not going to that shit show, and I didn't watch it. I didn't care. So, and she was very animate about, what this country is going to be like once this clown gets back in the office. And she stood on it. So I admire her for it. So all those naysayers like, oh, she disrespecting. No, she's standing on business. And I salute her for standing on business that I'm not gonna kowtow to this just because it's procedure. Sometimes when people get the same energy that you put out, they try to figure out where it's coming from. You started this. You started this. It started with you. So when I give you that same energy back, don't complain. Don't get in the uproar. Don't get in the uproar. Don't get in your feelings now. Because you gave out the energy and you got it back. So she just gave the energy back. Like, I'm not acknowledging it. Fuck you. And basically that's the way I took it. So it ain't disrespectful. It's like I'm gonna stand on this and I think a lot of black women are doing this after the last election. Like, you know what? I'm standing on business. I'm gonna sit back and watch the clown show, and I'm not participating in the charade or the show. I'm not gonna be part of the show anymore. So you go do what you do. I'm gonna eat my popcorn, and I've been doing that lately. I've been hearing about folks who voted for this man, and now they're sitting there crying because they regretting their vote. I was literally watching a video eating popcorn. It was entertaining to me because I'm like, you voted against your own, you voted against your interests, and now you crying. Now it's we got to do something. We got to do something. We already did it. We already went to the polls and made our decision clear. But you got fooled into this. Now, what do you mean we? What do you mean we, white man? What do you mean we? Whoever voted for him, Latinos for Trump, blacks for Trump. What do you mean we? We got to do something now. So I understand why she did it. I applaud her, and she's standing on business, and so am I.
Okay. This is One Black Man Talk. Mark Elliott, Mr. Reese, Mr. Charles. I want to thank you for giving us an ear. Um, I hear what you two gentlemen are saying, and I agree with all of it. Her reasons not to appear, chose not to appear. But I'm going to push all of that aside because this is where I think as men, we kind of pick and choose. That's her husband. And that was disrespectful to him. I don't care about what the naysayer is saying, whatever the case may be. For him, that was disrespectful because that's who she's married to. That's who she took the vow for. And sometimes, not sometimes, when you do such, you do things for your partner, your husband, your wife that you may disagree with, but you put yourself above that. Now, she has a right not to come. I'm not saying she should have won, but I'm just saying as a husband, he was elected and he will always be an ex-president of this country, and she will always be the first lady of this country. That comes with some responsibilities. And he was the man. So we can all get in our feelings and say, I get all of that. But you can't look at the husband and wife unit and start to pick and choose and it's respectful or not disrespectful when it's based on other people around your unit. And that's why I said, was it disrespectful to him? Because no one stops and think about how he may have felt. I want to have my wife here. What does it say about me? What is he thinking inside? No one thinks about that. We're so rapid on, and I get all that. But is anyone thinking about what he's feeling? Are they speaking to what he's feeling, thinking about what he's feeling? Because I don't care about the outside noise. But she took a vow to be with this man, not to walk outside of him, not to walk in front of him, not to go around him. That's not what a wife does. That's not what a husband does. So when I look at it from that perspective, I would say yes, it was disrespectful. Because you spoke of earlier about a bullet. Sometimes we take a bullet for the person we're in love with, we took a vow with. We take those bullets. It just happens. That's what marriage sometimes is about. But I'm gonna come back and I want to ask this question, Ms. DeMaurice, because I know the noise. I didn't hear much noise, but I'm sure there's some noise out of it not going. But what would we have said when Obama first took office if Laura Bush chose to do the same thing? If she chose not to show up, what would have been your reaction to that?
That's her prerogative, man. She's not the president of the United States.
Let me stop you, boss. let me stop you. Now you may say, hang on a second. You may say that, but your first thought would have been because he's a black man, she don't want to stand by him. She don't want to see a black man go in office. And the majority of folks that are yelling and screaming, first prerogative, they're not gonna come out and say that first. And yes, it is right. I'm not saying that's not her choice. But we'd have turned it into a race thing that she wasn't happy that Obama won because he's black. And you can't tell me, honestly, that would not have been the first thought of black Americans. And here again, she had Laura Bush had a right not to go, same thing as Michelle. But to me, it's not as simple if she would have chose not to. We would have lost our motherfucking mind. Lost it. Forget about disrespect to George Bush. Lost it. This is the first time a black man going to office and she just think about that. Because to me, I think that's the reality. So it's easy to say it's their choice, but I think the realism is that we'd have lost our motherfucker. We'd have felt slighted. Fuck, a lot of y'all feeling slighted because Snoop Doggy Dogg was up there and up in there. So you can't tell me if she chose to sit out and not show up, we'd be running around saying that's her choice. I'm sorry if I interrupt you,
I,
bro, but
yeah,
that's my
I
reality
don't
to
know.
it.
Yeah, if black folks felt that way, fine. I wouldn't give a damn. That's personally with me. I wouldn't give a damn. Well, who showed up, who didn't show up, who, if Dan Quell and his wife didn't show, I don't give a damn. I didn't give a damn during that time. I wouldn't give a damn, to be honest with you. Like I said, I was there for a historical moment. I wanted to get this brother in. I could care less who showed up to that inauguration. As long as he got in, that was fine with me.
Mr. Charles, if Laura Bush didn't show up, she was home baking cookies. Oatmeal cookies, probably. Would have been the same reaction to it, my brother.
Certain people, certain individuals in the African American community probably would have seen it slighted as why she couldn't show up for the first black man, whatever. But we know, most of us know sometimes they do what the fuck they want to do. Certain individuals do what they want to do of a different hue, and we get in our feelings and we go, man, they should have been there, but they don't respect us or what happens sometimes because they don't feel like they need to. And so some people would have probably said, yeah, they've been up in the feelings. But again, the one thing I think that was mentioned earlier is the fact that, first of all, one, we don't know if they had a conversation. I'm talking about Barack and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
They might have discussed this. And he goes, you know what? No, you good. You good. So to say like, well, she disrespected and whatnot, we don't know. We're assuming. We do not know if they had a conversation, yes or no. And again, for me, granted, it was you mentioned about her disrespecting him and what he represented as the unit. First of all, this wasn't honoring him or anything. It was not honoring him. It'd be different if they said, "Well, we're going to honor former President Barack Obama," even if, let's say, Barack Obama and his wife divorced, and they came back and they wanted to honor Barack Obama, and she had the opportunity, and she didn't show up. Now we got a problem because it's focused on him. We got a problem now because it's like, are you serious?
You got a problem
But
in
to
Houston?
say, yeah, yeah, but to say, well, you didn't acknowledge Mr. Trump and she wasn't there. I mean, granted, he's standing on business, as he said. As long as he was there, that's the most important thing. That's what it is. One president recognizes another president. Another president prior to that stood on business. Not was his wife there? Was his mama there? Was his grandmama there? Was her mama there? But I mean, the protocol is the president acknowledges another president. Now they could have been assholes about it because, like the other, 45 coming in again, didn't come and show up.
Yep.
They could have been assholes about it. Like, I ain't going to see that man F him. But no, according to ceremonial procedure, they did the right thing. Brock said, you know what? I ain't really feeling this shit right now, and I'm keeping it 100 with y'all when I'm breaking this vernacular down as far as wording that's probably used in his context of his mind as he's going being a cool president. So I'm breaking this down for you. Okay, I'm taking it to another level. So he's probably saying, "Man, I do not want to go to this crap. I don't want to be, but it is my duty." Right? We talked about that. It is my duty as part of my responsibility as a former president to appear And that's what he did. Not my wife, not my baby. Where's the daughters at? Hell, where's the butler at? Really? Come on, man.
Yeah, dig mama-in-law out the grave and bring her ashes
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
Come
where
on,
was
man.
she at? You know she didn't want to be there. She only wanted to be here for the first 4 years. She wanted to leave. She didn't want to be there for the second time. You can go in this, you can turn this around. But on business, the former president, Barack Hussein Obama, was there in all his wherewithal, standing on point, doing what he's supposed to do, to probably a guy that he did not believe is capable of handling the business of the country. But despite all that, because it's the right thing to do, he was on point.
There's times in a relationship, gentlemen, and we're gonna at some point. I got a funny feeling we're gonna revisit this somehow. I'm not sure how. I think we're gonna visit this because I can see in the future where we're gonna be talking about relationships, and she chooses to do something different than we may feel she should have done, and we're gonna scream and holler it's disrespectful to him. I'm gonna put that out there now so it'll be in the archive. So whatever happens again, it will, just I'll go back to this time and say this. But I will say this, man. There's times in relationships that you have to take a bullet for your partner. And as I said earlier, sometimes that is basically maybe doing something that you're a little uncomfortable about doing, or the case may be, but you do it for the good of the relationship and the good of your spouse or your partner. So basically, if you look at it like that, if you're in a relationship, Mr. Charles, I come back to you basically, and you feel like you're with someone and you want them to do something, and they choose outside of it, for the most part, are they expressing to you they're not willing to take a bullet for you?
And it depends on who looks at it a certain way. I would say in certain situations, yes. But if I have a conversation, see, that's the determining factor. We do not know whether or not the two of them had a conversation about this. And all we're going off is what we think and what we believe, what we perceive. It's not evidence. And they had a conversation prior to this, and they talked about it. He's like, "No, you good." And he probably told her, "Yo, I need you there because the way it's gonna look." But if they literally had a conversation, which no one knows, we're assuming, if they had a conversation and he said, "You good," then how can we come out and go, "Man, that's disrespectful"? But because you don't know,
But
you
here's the
don't. No
thing.
one knows.
But here's the thing. We could only go on what we do know. So I say that to say we don't know. Of course, we don't know what they talked about. We're not privy to know what they talk about. But so we only could basically view what we know. And you're right. I hear you, Dimitri, both saying that. But I'm talking about taking a bullet. So my
Yeah,
point
but
is,
let me ask you this real quick. Let me ask you
mhm,
this real quick. But it's still
mhm.
an assumption, though. It's an assumption. What we do know,
No,
let me finish. An
mhm.
assumption is you're assuming by what you see. You don't know if they had a conversation. There's some missing
But
information. Is what I'm saying when you
it,
assume.
it's not, to me, it's not missing. This is why when I say this, and I was moving away from them. I'm just saying in general about taking a bullet. The action itself, I'm not talking about whether they had a conversation. Just because, and I'll even go with that. Even if they had the conversation and she still chooses not to come and he says to her, okay, I understand. That doesn't mean it's not disrespectful to him, in my opinion. It doesn't mean because here again,
But that's your opinion. But that's your opinion. That's your
exactly.
opinion.
I can't speak
That,
yours.
but,
I
but,
can only speak mine. That's what I'm
that,
saying.
and that,
So my
but that's what we're saying,
and that
though.
hang on a second. Hang on a second. I'm saying this. That's what I'm trying to say. So my point is saying this. As men, we talk all the time about what she won't do for us. So when I say that and I put that in the phrase of taking a bullet, don't complain later on when she says, I don't feel like doing this, and she does not want to take a bullet for you, then you're complaining because here again, and that's why I asked the question. When you're in a relationship, you're in a marriage, should one take the bullet for the other one? Sometimes when you're not feeling like you want to do such, should that be part of a marriage and a marriage vow? That's the question, boss. That's it.
so,
Not
so,
whether,
the,
hang on a
so
second, not whether they had a conversation that I get all that. I totally get it. But sometimes in life, you do things for the other person. Take the bullet. You do things for them. You just do. You should. I think that's my opinion again. But that's the question.
So to answer your question directly, sir, since that's where we're going, since you're asking directly to answer your question directly, should a person take a bullet for their spouse from time if that's what's needed? Yes. But I also believe that it is determining on what's important to those individuals because everybody's different. What you may deem as for a person needs to be there for you as your spouse is one thing. Another person may say, "Well, she didn't come. That's disrespectful." And other people are like, "Well, it's not that big a deal to me." It depends on the individuals. It depends on what they agree to or what they see as disrespectful in their relationship.
Well said. I understand. I mean, I understand. To me, that's like the obvious. I look at that and I hear that. I'm just still talking about the thing of disrespect. Now, DeMaurice, the same question for you because, we've all been in relationships and we've all been in situations where we feel like that person, can I trust that person to take a bullet for me? Not necessarily when I say bullet, meaning coming out of a gun, but can I trust that person to basically, if I need them to do something against their will, can I count on them to do such? So when I say bullet, I'm kind of speaking more to that. And as men, we've talked about this shit numerous times. We've been places where we can't feel that I can trust her enough to go against her will to be there for me. But yet, we're going to go with and say this and that and blah, blah, blah. So I'm asking the question, should we expect the person that we're in love with, that we take a vow to take the bullet? That's the question.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Charles said, and
Why am I not
it
surprised?
yeah, I mean, it is what it is because I'm not gonna just like if she asked me to do something and I'm like, I'm totally against this, and we sat down, talked about it, and she knows how I feel. She was like,
But you're saying the
I
same that
understand.
you're saying the same.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you say the
I
same, but
know. But
without
let
answering
me
the
get to my
question. You ain't
let
answer.
me get to my
Could you answer
point.
the
Let me get
question?
to my
At least
point.
Charles
Let me
answer the
get to my point.
question.
Let me get to my point. Let me get to my point.
But answer the
Let me talk.
question.
I
Bullet
am
or
going to
no?
answer the question, but let me get to my point. So one of the things that in relationships, you got to have that communication. And what we perceive that may be disrespectful may not be disrespectful for that particular relationship and what they talked about, what they decided. Now, should a spouse or a significant other do something that they don't normally want to do for the other person or feel like they're against it? Do it. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, if it's really important. But I don't feel that
I'm
this
sorry to laugh,
was
bro.
important enough to to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to swallow all that shit he's been pushing out, and you want me to go there and fake like I'm supposed to be this cool with it, and I'm not. So it's a conversation between those two.
I understand that, D.
I
Maurice,
don't know
but
how he,
but you're saying to me
but
sometimes.
you keep
I
interrupting.
know,
You
but
keep
bro, because
interrupting.
you're saying the same thing over again. I'm
Yeah,
tired about Trump shit. I'm serious. Fuck Trump
yeah,
shit.
but I
But wait, we're past that. We know Trump is an idiot. We know people don't like him. I want to go on what you said sometimes, because at least Mr. Charles answered straight direct. You're saying sometimes you should take. I just want to know, because to me sometimes don't cut it, bro. I'm just saying yes or no. Should the person take a fucking bullet? Fuck
but
Trump. I don't
that's
want to hear about Trump no more. I don't want. We're past
yeah, but
inauguration.
if
I'm
you
just saying.
if you let me talk, let me talk.
You said
So
sometime
if
you
you
take a bullet, and then you went back to Trump shit. I'm tired of no more Trump on this episode. Fuck Trump. He's the president. He's been elected.
so
We're past that. Okay, I'm sorry, but let's go.
can I talk now?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying, please.
All right. So in relationships, there are going to be some times where you know what you don't feel like doing this. This is against you for whatever reason. I respect that, and I'm going to move on and do what I need to do to represent. So yeah, there's sometimes that you're gonna bite the bullet. There's sometimes where it might be traumatic for that other person that, you know what, I understand why you don't want to do this and we're good. But sometimes if it's not traumatic, if it's just like, well, I don't like this person, I don't like this, I don't do this, I don't want to be around such and such family, whatever. Sometimes you bite the bullet just to hang around, just to. But we get caught up in so many perceptions on what people are going to think, how people are going to feel. that if you're not in the relationships, you don't know. You really don't know. So sometimes you're gonna bite the bullet, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're gonna agree and on certain things, and sometimes you're gonna agree to disagree. And it's based on the situation. It's not always gonna be I'm gonna do it regardless of how I feel because you my man or I'm your woman or all that other stuff. It's situation based on the situation. That's how it goes. And I'm pretty sure they've had a conversation about it.
So now I want to ask you directly, because you want to be with a wife that's going to sometimes bite a bullet for you.
So you said sometimes, right?
Those words you use. I mean, your words. That's what I'm
Yeah.
asking you
But
directly.
if it's
Yeah.
gonna
No, 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 no. I'm just.
if
So sometimes it's cool with you.
sometimes it's cool with me because I want to be respectful of how she feels. And if
Okay,
she's not
Maurice.
comfortable in certain
Let me write this
situations,
down. I'll write this down.
if
Write this
if,
down.
if
One
she's
second.
not comfortable
Write
in
this
certain
down.
situations, just like if I flipped and like, listen, I'm not comfortable with that.
Maurice
I want
Show.
her to respect me, and I want to respect her feelings about how
Okay,
she
bro.
feels on certain situations. It's
I
not
hear you,
that you
bro.
just gonna come because it's me and no, no. It may be
Bro,
something triggering for her.
I hear you. All I'm saying is that keep that same smoke and fire when that situation presents itself. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So Mr. Charles, I'm gonna write this down. Mr. Charles says yes, it is, but they should bite the bullet or take the bullet. D. Marie says sometimes, based on the weather. That nature sometimes she could take it. She could take the bullet. I love it, man. I love the conversation. I love the fire. This is what it is when black men talk. This is how we bring it. This is what we do. And we ain't always going to agree. I love that part. We ain't always going to see eye to eye. I love that part too. It's just a conversation, man, that we share. I would, my thing is, I would love to be with someone, and I hear this sometimes, Mr. Demas. Trust me, I do. And I'm sorry for the times I cut you off because I'm tired of hearing about the Trump shit. I really am. But my thing is, I would love to be with someone that I can basically, if I need them to basically even go against their will, if it's not going to hurt them physically or mentally or do physical harm to them, to basically understand and basically take the bullet as I would do for them. Not sometimes, from my perspective, it would be all the time you can count on that. And I like to think I can count on them as well. To each his own, everyone has their own variety of opinions, but that's how I view it, and that's what I speak from. And that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean my opinion overrides anyone else's, my thought does. I just speak that. But I will say, I've heard numerous times, and I've heard times in this show, and other guys speak. When a woman basically may choose to do something, we read into it. We ain't thinking about her taking a bullet. We get mad. But in this particular case here, because of the outside sources, we look beyond, in my opinion, we're looking beyond that saying, no, it's not a problem. So all I'm saying is, okay, if that was that particular case, and let's bring that to all the cases we might deal in our future, our relationships, our futures, we go back in our relationship where they didn't want to take the bullet for us. We had nothing to be mad about. We really didn't. So that's just what I'm speaking and saying. And to me, that to me is there. But I think realistically, a lot of us, we can feel that until we're put in that situation, and then we get in our feelings. We do get in our feelings and feel something. No matter if you have the conversation, you have a conversation. Now, I mean, you don't walk away feeling a certain way.
Now
You
let me
walk
ask this
away.
question real quick.
Yes, sir. You ain't got to
Did
be
they
quick. Take your
report?
time, man.
Did they report that it was a problem for them?
Here you go back and forth with that, bro. We don't. We can't. We are you think he gonna come out and say there's a problem with them? I'm not saying how are we supposed to know that. I'm going on the particulars, the exact what we can talk about. It's not about whether she said it was a problem or he said. Who's going to do that? What couple does that? You can't tell me you done been someplace and see somebody not show up with somebody, and you start forming your own ideas why the person's not there. You don't go over the fucking microphone and ask him what you two talk about. You don't. So I'm just saying, that's why I can't get that deep in those woods. I'm just talking about what just I saw took place. That's it. And you're right. They could have had a conversation. I agree with that 40 minutes ago. I did. They could have a conversation, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm giving my opinion, my humble opinion, it's disrespectful. That's it. That's all I'm saying. And I said early on, I understand the choice not to come. I do. I'm not against it. I'm just saying a simple point. But I still have a right to view my opinion. And if it doesn't line with what you're thinking, then I just speak about it more and we speak about it more. But no, I don't think she came out and said whatever. I mean, realistically, that's their business. But I only could talk about what took place. That's all. And that's what I was trying to do. You have a question too, Mr. Charles?
No, I didn't have a question, but I think that when you mentioned, you said that's your opinion, and that's great. You have every right to have your opinion, but we do as well.
I
And
acknowledge
I
you
think
guys' opinion.
let me finish because you did go there. You went there. You did go there. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. You may not think you did, which is why we let her have these shows. So we can go back. But when you came off, you said, "This is my opinion." No one ever said that your opinion was wrong or that's your right. But when it was said about a conversation and some other things, you kind of went after that. You didn't say, "Well, hey, we're gonna have to agree to disagree because I feel this way. You guys feel that way." You didn't do that. That's just the way I received it, which is fine. But you did not do that. And you mentioned about assumption. The point of it is, like you said, I can only go off what we see. Great, great. But we don't know what that was. All I'm saying to you is you had your opinion. We should have ours too. Without it going through all of the extra that you did kind of bring. We didn't say, no one ever said you were wrong. No one said anything different. Like, okay, that's what he believes. That's what he sees. That's what he says. We said the same thing. You can't force. That's all I'm saying. That's my opinion. Lee Maurice, it's on you to say what you think. I'm just keeping that 100.
How did I come for you though?
Yeah, you accused us of not answering the question, and we were answering the question.
No,
It
no, no.
just
I know.
wasn't
I no, no,
being
no, no, no,
answered.
no, 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 no,
It
no,
was
no. Wait a
our
minute. Wait a minute.
opinion. It
But
was
hang on
our
a second. Hang on a
opinion.
second. Hang on a second.
You didn't
D.
respect our
Maurice, I
opinion.
accuse you not to answer the question. I said Charles
Yeah,
answer the question and get no, 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 because you went back and repeated what Charles said. I accuse you. I asked you straightforward to answer the question, and you said you want to go back to. I agree with Mr. Charles. I get that, but that's not answering the question. Agree with Mr. Charles. Mr. Charles clearly said no. Yes, a couple should take a bullet. Now, when you said sometimes, I accept that. I disagree with you saying no, you have to. So I don't understand what you're saying. I'm coming for you. All I just said at some point, let's stop the Trump talk. Even when I asked the question about a couple taking a bullet, I moved away from there. But you two brought it back to Trump them again. I'm not saying I said a couple. A couple. I didn't say Michelle. I didn't say Obama. So when you two went back there, I was like, I'm not talking about them anymore. I'm talking about when we're in relationships, when we're in a marriage. So my point is, we dealt with that. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. How did I come for you?
so when I mentioned that, sometimes it's good not to take the bullet because it's going to be triggering to that person, maybe physically, maybe mentally. You came around to that, but it's like you wouldn't let me kind of expound on that. So I was getting to a point, and you kept cutting me off.
No, I cut you off when you was talking about Trump shit. You start talking
It's
about
still
what she
related
made.
to the conversation. It was the
No,
example.
no, but no, we're past the Trump stuff. I'm talking about what we do in couples, relationships, and marriage. And I said to you, I don't want to go with the Trump stuff anymore. That's when I cut you off. I don't want to go back and do another soliloquy about them. We understood. We understood why she did it. Blah blah blah. They talked about it. We were past that. So I don't want to go back keep pulling that. I'm talking about just taking it away from Michelle and Obama. And that's why I cut you off because it's like I don't want to go back keep beating the hell out of that. We're past that because what Mr. Charles said, you were going back and repeating the same thing. They might have had a conversation. We understood that. I don't think she just woke up one day and said, "Fuck it, I ain't going," and they ain't talk about it. So I'm just saying that's when I asked the question about should a couple take a bullet for each other. Your
But
response is
do coup-
sometimes. Go ahead.
but do couples discuss these things before they make decisions on what they're going to do?
Our assumption is yes.
Okay.
At least
So
my assumption. My assumption is that. But let me just say this: you know well as I know, Mr. DeMaurice, you've been around here long enough that sometimes a woman decides she ain't doing some shit, she ain't discussing nothing with you, and so we're acting like they did. We don't know. You know that's wrong, Mr. Charles. Sometimes a man or a woman makes up their mind, they ain't discussing nothing. So to act like they sat down at a round table, maybe they did. I'm not concerned with that. But to act like they sat down at a round table and he gave her his advice, she gave her. Most marriages, a lot of marriages don't work like that, boss. And we believe, at least I believe that to be true. And maybe if they did, we wouldn't be divorcing 50%. You know, sometimes, a lot of times, one party make a decision, I ain't going.
So when you ask
You're
the
left to deal
question,
with it.
if I'm in a relationship, so you made it personal with me. If I'm in a relationship,
We
would
make it
I
personal on the
accept?
show.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I
I,
said sometimes, that's my opinion. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes no. I understand. I'm going to respect your feelings and your opinions and how this may be triggering, and you're good. That's in my relationships. That's how way I handle it because I
and how
know
did
there
I
could be
disagree
some
with that?
triggering things.
How did I disagree with that?
I didn't say you disagree, but I was
Okay.
coming around to that point, and you kept cutting me off.
No, here again, I cut you off when you talked about Trump. You kept going back in with Trump, and I'm like, let's get beyond that. Let's get to it personal. Because when I asked the question to Charles, he answered. He said, couples, blah, blah, blah. I would if she did. Yes, she should. You started right in with Trump did this, she did this, she shouldn't. And I'm like, let's put that back. We're done with that. And that's what I wanted the personal. The question was more of a personal question, not what they did. We know what they did. We know how to play it out. But when you wanted to go back and run, and I'm like, okay, let's just get to the point of personal. Now I'm sorry for interrupting you, but enough is enough of that. We beat the hell out of that. But the personalness was okay. Where do you stand on this? And like I said, I would think a lot of people want their person to take a bullet. That's my opinion. You feel sometimes that's cool. That's great. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. And I think that's fair. But I have voiced mine. So I don't see where, we have a conversation. I don't come for anybody. It's just a conversation as far as I'm concerned. And I don't kind of disagree with what you're saying, but I give my opinion. So I didn't go in. When you guys, if you go back and listen, when you talked about why it wasn't disrespectful, I kept mine short. I said I believe it was. I gave my reason for behind it, and I moved on. But it seemed like it was because I said that I didn't agree. Then it had to be, well, you don't know what they're talking about. I don't have to. I just basically know what I saw, and I gave an opinion based on that. I'm not going to be inside their home and understand what's going on. So it's not me saying I'm coming for anybody, trying to come for anybody, but I just gave my opinion. I stood on my opinion. So no, and that's what I love about what we do. We give our opinions and we stand on it.
But we stood on ours too. But the point of it is,
Absolutely.
but wait, let me finish. The one thing you did say was you can't act like we don't know how people act in certain situations. Like for instance, like she just can't come off and go, oh, well, she made a decision to not, she ain't doing it because she don't want to do it. But when you say, to me, when you say that, you're not to the point understanding our opinion too. Mine anyway. I'm not gonna say about D. Maurice, but I respected what you said. That's how you feel. Great. When you say, "Oh, Mr. Charles, you know how this is. Such time a woman decides she's not going, she ain't going." Yeah, I do. But what I said is what I said, and what I
Understand?
do as far as what. Let me finish, please.
Yeah, I'm
As I
sorry.
understand your opinion, I said I never said, "Oh man, that's crazy as hell." What you just said. I received it, I took it, and I said, I'm gonna try to make my point to be understood, and I left it there. But when you say the other part of it, it's almost as if, and I'm not gonna second guess it, whatever. The opinion is the opinion, and that's how I think it should stand. And I don't think that was the case in this situation. That's just me, a little bit. Leave it right there.
Let me ask you, Mr. Charles. Let me ask you. No, I'm asking you a question. So when I say there are times that sometimes a woman makes a decision, regardless of what you're thinking, that's going against your opinion, or is that am I just stating a fact?
No, you stating the fact. Sometimes it does happen, but but it's almost as if, like you said, and like I said, it doesn't at this point. It doesn't even matter. It's what it is. But it really doesn't because it's just talk. But when you say you had your opinion, which was clear how you felt, I gave mine. I never said anything else. I left it there. And if people understand this and receive this, they say, well, I agree with him. Or I don't agree with him. I think they both, whatever. I left it there. I don't have to be, I'm not saying you feel need to be right, but I left it there. And that's all I did. And that's what I'm saying. In fact, I told you what for me personally, I'm trying to improve on how I listen and how I talk to people and understand the situations, which I leave things there, which is my favorite phrase has been for a while. I agree to disagree. I leave it there. And that's what I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. You say we're gonna leave it there, you have your opinion, I have mine. That's how I think to me how things work and how we understand. Because I'm not trying to change your mind. You have the right. You have to believe what you want to, and that's how I'm gonna roll with it the rest of the way.
I hear you clearly. But me, when I make the statement that this is what they do, it's not no infringement on your opinion. I'm stating a fact. So if I say to you, well, you know this is how they do, and then address your opinion, then I'm putting it up against your opinion. I'm stating this fact that's totally separate from your opinion. And that's what that statement was. So if you're taking that while I'm coming against you, that was not my intent. That's what I'm not trying to do. That's a clear statement of a fact that I believe to be true. It has nothing based on your opinion, Mr. DeMaria's opinion. It's just a fact. And
Let
men
me
do the
ask the
same thing.
question. Let me ask the
Absolutely.
question. So since you said that, you still when you saying that you don't know what that was in this particular situation. You don't know whether or not she said, even though she said sometimes, which you did say. Am I correct on that?
Who's
Sometimes. They
who
went.
am I
Let
saying
me.
that is to their
I mean,
situation? I'm
but you
not
said
saying that
it's
to their
true. But
situation.
you okay. Just in general, you said sometimes women decide they're gonna do what they hell to do what they want to do. And let's say in general, if a situation is important to me, we don't know from the standpoint of how important it was to you as a person. You know, we don't know that. We don't. Situations are different. One thing you might go, well, man, this is important to me. If that was my woman, damn it, she better be there. I might go, ain't that big a deal to me. That's why I say individuals is different. It's different. It's up on the individuals who decides whether or not. And that might be somebody saying, well, you should have stood up, whatever. But it is an individual situation and how you think and how you perceived it and how you feel and what your relationship is. That's all I'm saying. I might agree with something. You might say, well, such is different. But that's your opinion. Same way mine may be different. That's all I'm saying. When you say sometimes, you still have to put in there about the people, how they operate, the hell with Barack and hell with Michelle, hell with Trump. But individuals that we were talking about, it depends on those people, how they perceive it, what their relationship is, and whether or not it bothers you or it bothers me. We're two different people. That's all I'm saying.
Again, when I'm saying sometimes women or men make the decision, regardless of being disrespectful. I wasn't saying that about Michelle and Obama. That's a fact. So again, that's not. If I was to say that about them, I would have added their name to that statement. But when you heard that, your assumption is I'm speaking to them. And as again, when I went to the question about taking a bullet, had nothing to do with them anymore. I didn't say Michelle take the bullet for him. I didn't say
I'm
that.
good. I'm good, bro. We ain't gonna
Okay,
get
all
through
right.
this one. I'm good.
Well,
I'm
hey,
good.
hey,
You,
I'm
nah,
good as
nah.
well,
I'm
man.
good. I'm good.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
never have to talk about this ever again. I'm good. Cause apparently it ain't gonna come to some point. I ain't mad. I ain't tripping. But I'm good. You said you
I'm
thought
never
what you
mad.
said.
I'm
You
never
said
tripping, bro.
I'm not
I'm
either.
just,
I'm just.
yeah,
I'm not. I'm good, bro. I'm good.
yeah.
I'm good.
I'm just
I'm
saying
done.
clearly. Yeah, but
I'm
I
good.
don't want
I'm
you.
good.
I no,
I'm
but,
not,
but
bro.
my
I'm not
thing is,
feeling no kind of way. I'm good. Let's
I'm
talk.
not
Let's get over
suggesting
with.
that you are. But my
I'm
point
not,
is
bro.
this: I don't want y'all to feel like I'm trying to go against your opinion.
You,
If
you
I
you
make
had a right to
statement,
do that. You had a right to
no,
do
no,
that.
no, that's not, no, no, no. But my point is, if I do, I'm going to address it as such. I'm not going to
But
make statements that's not pertaining to your opinion and act like they are going against your opinion. That was a totally
you know
separate
what, brother?
statement.
And you know what? I received that. I'm good. Thank you.
Good. And I'm glad this is, in reality, I'm glad we're having this conversation because sometimes things are said, they're taken a different way or felt a different way. So I'm glad, hey, this is part of what we do here. When black men talk, we speak. Anything you want to add, Mr. DeMaurice?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, man. Then we can close this out to the next time, 6, 7 days we get together and do this again. Mr. Charles, Mr. Reese, Mark Elliott, God loves you and we love you too. Take care of yourself.